The latest thinking on the conservation of kinetic and programmatic art has highlighted two opposing positions. On the one hand, some experts maintain that these artworks should be switched off in order to preserve them, preventing the original electromechanical mechanisms from wearing out. On the other hand, we think it's important for the public to see the artworks in operation, because it's only when they are operating that there is a practical and visual feedback, according to the theories of Gruppo T and kinetic artists in general. In this case, therefore, conservation of kinetic art becomes a challenge. Examining the artwork, the first step is to understand which are the instrumentation components and which are the aesthetic and structural components of the work. In the case of instrumentation, some components can be replaced with slightly more advanced technology, as happens, for example, with some electric motors that are only used to operate the artwork and are not visible from outside. In other cases, however, it's important to think more carefully before replacing some elements, especially those that are visible to viewers and contain an aesthetic value within the work. Since these artworks have a high degree of obsolescence in terms of structural and aesthetic components, it's important, as in the Museum of the 20th Century, where the artworks are in operation 10 to 12 hours a day, for there to be a programmed conservation plan. Constant ongoing maintenance is required to prevent the occurrence of irreparable damage. In this case, too, preventative maintenance especially concerns the mechanical and electrical components of the work, because they're most subject to wear. For this reason, the Museum of the 20th Century has drawn up a conservation plan for these kinetic artworks, basically individual plans for each piece. The peculiarity of this conservation approach is that the replacement of some electromechanical elements, for example, a motor or a gear or a small electric system, is inevitable to keep the work operating, and thus, in some ways, is less invasive than displaying the artwork switched off. Another important aspect for the conservation of these works is involving various specialists. A single conservation expert or restorer is not enough. We need to make use of a wide range of technical skills.
The planned maintenance of kinetic artworks is important because they involve moving parts which are going to wear out at some point. So it's important to check the condition of the various components and to take preventive action in good time. There are still a number of specialists who are able to work on these components because this is a small restoration sector which is gaining importance. Obviously, the parts that wear out first are generally moving parts, as in all mechanical systems. The part that wears out first is the motor. In others, it's the driving mechanism that goes first, made up of belts or chains with more or less advanced transmission systems.
The collection of kinetic art items, like all works in the Museum of the 20th Century, undergoes constant maintenance, as well as permanent conservation and restoration when needed. The collection of kinetic art items requires more attention because maintenance operations are more frequent. In some cases, a kinetic art item may be given full-scale restoration when routine maintenance is not enough. For example, when an electric motor stops working, or when other moving parts are not operating properly and need to be replaced due to wear or damage.
O c'è bisogno di sostituire delle parti, degli elementi perché o per usura o per danno in quel momento vengono a mancare la loro funzione principale.
For us, it's very important to document the work involved, so we make videos when mechanical pieces are replaced. We interview the person doing the actual work and take photographs of everything that is done in the workshops. So we try to carry out repairs that are somehow reversible. But if this is not really possible, we document everything by keeping the originals of historical pieces. But the original one is kept in our archives because it's an historical object that was used to reconstruct the piece as it was at that time.